All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is a presentation over the 15 uses of commas for our Wise Wednesday rotation. I apologize that I am not there with you today, but I figured that this would be the next best thing. So, without further ado, there are 15 different ways to use a comma. We talked about this last year when we were doing our Wise Wednesday rotation. In fact, anytime, of course, you are rotating with Mrs. Beavers, you are learning about commas. So we're just going to use today as an opportunity to quickly reference the uses of commas, to go back over them and make sure we are all familiar with them. So number one, items in a list. This one is pretty standard and we're really familiar with this. If I say I need to go to the store and pick up bread, milk, and cereal, we know that there is a comma in between each of those items. Number two is also relatively common and we use this on a regular basis. List of adjectives. So if I say that today was a cold, wet, dreary day, I know that there is going to be a comma in between each of those adjectives. These we use on a natural scale, so they tend to happen as a result of simply having written them often enough. There are some of the comma rules that are not quite so intuitive. The next one, number three, working with fanboys. Okay, fanboys is something you should be familiar with. Those are our conjunctions: for and nor, but, or, yet, so. We're commonly familiar with those. The problem is that when you go to use them with a comma in a sentence, you need to make sure that you are separating two complete sentences. So if you have a complete sentence on one side, a complete sentence on the other side, and a coordinating conjunction in the middle, then you need a comma. The trouble is you don't know you have that situation until after you've finished the sentence. This, of course, requires you to go back and edit the sentence later in order to determine if you need the comma. So the real problem here is that not often enough are we going back and doing that editing piece to determine the comma usage with the fanboy. This is one that I will tell you even seniors still struggle with. So if it is something that you have still to work on, that you're not alone. All right, number four, set off dependent clauses. So this is one of those situations where if you can pluck the information out of the middle of the sentence, drop it off someplace else, and come back and still have a complete sentence, what you then have is a dependent clause. So a dependent clause example might be today, which happens to be Wednesday, is the day when I go to the park. So, which happens to be Wednesday, is a dependent clause I can take out, and the rest of the sentence, today is the day I go to the park, is still a complete sentence without it. That means it needs to be set off by commas. Number five, this one has an easy trick to remember. We don't always know what a conditional clause is just by looking at that phrase. However, if I say that I have a conditional clause, comma, then I need a comma. The use of the word if at the beginning of the sentence indicates that it is a conditional clause, and therefore that beginning piece of the sentence must be set off by a comma. So that one has an easy trick. Remember the word if. If you find it at the beginning of a sentence, you'll need a comma. Number six, set off an appositive. This one's most tricky only because we aren't commonly using the word appositive. Outside of your English classes, it's probably not a word that you're coming across on a frequent basis.